So, welcome to the Slice of Time Street Photography Podcast, episode 16 already, so hooray for that. Today I'm joined by Darren Sacks, a street photographer from the UK. I discovered his vibrant and abstract photos during the worldwide street photo exhibition in Amsterdam last month. So, hey Darren, how are you? And could you introduce yourself for a second?
Hey Frederick, thanks for having me on. It's great to be here. Yeah, sure. I'm Darren. I'm a UK-based photographer, and yeah, I enjoy shooting abstract or layered type of photography, and it's really something I enjoy, especially shooting around London. And yeah, I'm always kind of chasing that type of layered or light-based, colorful photos that you may have seen. So yeah, I'm just happy to be able to do that, especially in London. It's a great city.
Yeah, it's a. I can imagine it's been a while since I've been there, but I can imagine it's a good city for it. And so I'm curious to what brought you to do more abstract photography rather than, for example, what some people do is more like story based or um, so what brought you to those colors and light photography?
Yeah, it's a really interesting question. I mean, I think that often we're always well, I know when I first started taking photos, I was always wondering how people find their style, and you can, I think, sometimes feel like a pressure because you want to find that consistency in your work, and I think through the time that I was taking photos, I went through many different things. It was like there was details, or there was candid shots where I was really happy if I could get someone's candid photo, and I think I went through those different stages, and there was one stage where I was inspired to start looking at light and shadows, and then I started noticing a lot of reflections, and I think it got to a point where I started trying to combine those together, and I started shooting more and more like that. When I used to go take photos, I used to realize and look for these, like, oh, what's happening there? Is there a reflection? Could I layer it with some light, some colors, maybe bring in a human element? And I just kind of started shooting more and more like that. And I think that I started bringing in all the elements from all the previous phases together. And I think that's where it's interesting, where you like kind of see that, okay, all those other phases are kind of layered up to give me maybe how I shoot today. So yeah, that's
Oh,
what I'm
that's
always
nice.
searching for. Yeah.
And so, do you like have an idea more or less like when did you start doing street photography, and when did you like had that moment that you found your style?
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting because I think that I would say our style, even though like I do shoot in a particular way now, I still find I think you would also maybe think that we're always kind of evolving, and I hope we are always evolving. So I first started taking photos, I'd say, I mean, that story goes way back, but I think when I moved to London, I reconnected on like a meetup. I was like, wow, this would be a great place to take photos. And I remember that was around 2016, 2017. And there was a lot of like just trying to get candid photos of people, and just pictures of London, snaps maybe. And then I kind of think that from there, I went through all those different stages that I spoke about over time. And I think in the last 2 or 3 years, I'd say, I've started to shoot consistently. I think a bit more consistently in the way that I'm shooting now. So
Okay, so wow, 10 years of or almost 10 years of street photography then already. That's
yeah,
yeah, that's cool. Wow, that's a long
a-
time.
adds up quickly.
It adds up quickly. Yeah, I can imagine that for you now it's like, oh wow, it's been that long
Wow.
already.
Yeah.
And so, have you always like had a feel for the abstract, and do you, because to me it kind of looks painterly as well, so is there like a connection there, or is that just me?
No, and thank you. It's nice to hear it seems like that. I mean, what I studied like art direction and, a bit of graphic design. So, I mean, maybe some of that, like, maybe comes through in the photography, which is nice if it does. But I mean, I remember when I was younger, I always kind of had a camera with me, even if it was like a little point and shoot, and I was always wanting to capture moments or take photos, bit of architectural stuff. So I think I was always trying to take photos, but I think that the abstract stuff really evolved from all those other phases that I explained about in recent times more.
Okay, so before you were more like what's the opposite of abstract, of course, but like more like the story and scene based person, or
Yeah, yeah, I think so, definitely. Like, I think I was, as I say, I went through a time where I was doing a bit more like of buildings, and it wasn't really like more abstract or using like vibrant colors with like just a bit of a human element. I think it was more of the other stuff. So it's interesting that it has kind of landed up like this. So, yeah.
that's cool. I always like I always find it one way I find it super cool if someone has like a very particular style like yours, like it's recognizable, um it's I'm not gonna say like lined off, like there of course you can still experiment and do your thing, but it's there is a certain like definition to it, or like yeah recognizability. But do you find that for yourself restricting or liberating? Like do you notice that you've
Yeah, that's such an interesting question because there's a lot of stuff that I shoot that I think to myself, is this, does this kind of look like what I would normally take a photo of? And I think sometimes if I put it on Instagram, and I don't shoot for Instagram. I mean, I take photos of what is interesting for me. But you're right, because sometimes it can look like maybe that I didn't take that photo because it's not like what you kind of used to taking photos of. And it's important to remind yourself that, you know, if you want to take that photo or you're attracted to taking that scene, to carry on doing that because it can push you in an interesting direction or stuff like that. So I think if you're not aware of it, it can be restrictive. But I do shoot a lot of stuff which maybe is not always visible on my feed,
okay. So yeah,
but
it's
some
more
other things as well.
yeah, it's more I'm not gonna say restrictive, but it's more restricted what you put out than what you shoot. So you have like plenty of photos that are maybe not in this style, but are still interesting to you. Okay, right?
I
Or
mean,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, but I mean, like, I think if you look through my feed, like, you might find like some daytime stuff. Maybe it still feels like that style, which is good if it does, but it maybe is just more daytime stuff, or maybe it's some detail stuff. It might still have a bit of an abstract feel, but maybe it just isn't as prominent as some of the other stuff. So I do try and mix it up.
okay, yeah, maybe yeah, yeah, that's true. I was on your website and now I'm looking through your Instagram. There's some daytime stuff here and there, but it's still very much in your style. Yeah. Also like the hands thing,
Yeah.
also very graphical and very abstract as well. Even though it's very recognizable that it's hands, but there's a very how do you say like clean abstract shape. Like you have this one photo of the woman with the hands behind her back holding a purse,
Yeah.
and her coat is very clean and it's very monochromatic, and it goes for the others as well. So you really know which hands to pick.
Yeah.
Is
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
is that something? Do you, for example, with the hands, is that something you particularly go out for that walk? For example, you go out the door and say like, today I'm doing hands, or is it more something that happens in between the other kind of shots?
So I don't particularly leave home and say, okay, that's what I'm doing. I think that sometimes, like if I'm feeling a little bit slow on that day, I could say like, okay, I'm going to start off just shooting red, or I'm going to start off just, looking for details. Or so sometimes as like a bit of a prompt, if I haven't shot in a while, I might do that. But as far as the hands, it's something I'm always aware of and looking for. And like across a road, sometimes I can see something like that, and I'm like, you know, it's just something that I'm very aware of. As you say, like a clean coat or, and that interesting detail or gesture. So that is something I'm always aware of for that collection that I kind of find interesting.
Yeah, okay, that's nice. Yeah, because it's like there's one here, another one on my screen now by accident of a lady with like a pink coat holding a lighter, I think it is. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's it's always very. There's no messy clothes, no overly colored or like too many colors in the fabric. Uh, I feel like you're more of a long lens shooter, like 85 millimeter or something. Is that like true, first of all?
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. Just to touch on what you were talking about, just about style, just to go back. It's interesting because I've recently moved out of London to a bit more to the coast. And it's interesting because that's given me an opportunity to really try bring a bit of an abstract lens to like beachfront stuff. So
Okay.
I've got like a whole lot of photos that I haven't even got to yet that are like a bit of a coastal series, which I haven't even looked through. So yeah, hopefully we'll get to see some of those sometime.
Yeah. And like I find it interesting. So you because for me it's I make my photos and that day itself make my selection and I make my post production.
Yeah.
For you apparently that's totally different or
Yeah, I mean, I used to be good like that, where I used to take the photos, and on the train on the way home, I still used to be, I'll be like, yeah, like, wow, okay, that one, that one. And I've gotten, I don't know, I've gotten bad with it, or just, I think if I know that I've got like one or two, then like, yeah, I'll get home and see those immediately. But often I've got some like memory cards here that I don't maybe don't know what's on them or I haven't gone through them. It's always nice to see though when I do get to them. But I think life has just been quite busy, so
okay.
getting to them is a little bit
Yeah, I
of a
don't think
delay.
there's a right or wrong in it. I just think because I've heard other people. There's like I forgot who, but there's one photographer who I think was in a book maybe that I read it, and he makes a point of it of leaving the cards or the photos or whatever unseen for 6 months, I think,
Wow.
and then he goes seeing them with like a total fresh eye without any context. And I do understand the idea behind it, but to me, it's like I've made them today. I'm more of a I don't want to have it hang above me. Like I want everything to be done. Maybe that says something about me. Um, but so that's why I wondered because you had like you made the remark of having all these beach photos you don't or beach fronts photos you haven't seen yet. So I was thinking if it was maybe
No,
from a
no, it's
philosophy.
not. It's not intentional. Like I know that I'm excited to get through them and like cull them down. But like, I, I've either shot more recently, and then I'm like, okay, I'll get to those, and then, but I'm a few weeks behind things, and I think the way you do it, you stay on top of it, and the way I'm doing it, like I am behind a bit. But I'm excited to see them. So when I do get to see them, I'll be quite happy.
Yeah, I mean that's a nice way as well, like having the like nostalgia of even if it's not that long ago, but seeing it back. So you're kind of a productive, busy shooter then, or
Um, no, so this has just been like trying to balance like work and like I play tennis as well, like as a hobby, and then obviously important to carry on shooting as frequently as possible. So it's just been like just good busy, but just like finding time to do all the things. So yeah,
I find it a very nice distinction of the good busy because if someone tells me like they've been busy, I always ask like, but has it been good or has it been like bad? So it's nice that you make that distinction immediately because there's definitely several types of busy. I can imagine that the exhibition in Amsterdam was a part of the busyness as well, or
but yeah. That exhibition, I mean, the guys did such an amazing job. It was put on by Seb and Peter. and also Adam, who started Tokyo Streets. Excuse me. They just did such a fantastic job. Firstly, to put that exhibition together,
Yeah,
and yeah, I mean, just putting a great vibe and a great bunch of everyone who exhibited there, just great talented photographers. And yeah, I was just really happy to be able to be part in exhibits with great artists. So that was really nice.
yeah. Did you get to go there or?
Yes, so I actually got to go, and it was just so nice. As I said, it was a great vibe amongst everybody. So that was part of the busyness, the good busyness. So that was it
Yeah,
was really a good time.
yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, because I forgot his name now, but someone sent me like, hey, there's that weekend there's an exhibition, but it was only like one week and like 5 days, like Thursday to Sunday, I think, or Wednesday to Sunday maybe. So I was like, okay, I have to see which days I can go. But it was a very nice exhibition, like 10 or 15 photographers, I think, with most had four prints, I
Yeah,
think.
it was really good.
Yeah, all
Yeah, so you
styles
saw
and
you saw the space.
I saw the space. It was a really nice space as well. Yeah.
Very good.
So it wasn't like massive, but it was everyone had their plenty of room. Everyone had a great selection.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I remember like your prints were your photos are really colorful and it really helps to see them on a wall. Um, it was like I'm not sure the size, like a bit bigger than an A4 paper. So a decent size, like four photos. Um, so how did you go about selecting those photos for exhibition, or was it because it was already a set series, or?
It's a really good question. Yeah, so I'm pleased you saw the place and you have an idea for how it was. It was very nice. But that set, there actually was there were six there.
Ah,
Um, yeah, and so it was six. Those were part of a set that was shown. I was lucky to be included in the Tokyo Streets exhibition in Shibuya
okay,
last
nice.
year. Unfortunately, I couldn't go, but it is a dream of mine to go to Japan. I would love to take photos there. And then I wanted to keep the set as much as I could the same in Amsterdam, because it's kind of part of it's like a shadow silhouette set from London. So with vibrant colors. So it's part of that series, and yeah, so it was just nice. It was hard to choose two that I would cut out of that, but I'm trying to keep it as a cohesive collection that I will show. So yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And did you make like the selection based or yeah, like how did you make that selection? Because I'm sure you had like plenty of photos, and also I'm sure they're in like a specific order or something. How did that go for you?
Yeah, so I think anyone who takes photos will know how difficult it is to put their photos like somewhere, either if you print them or digitally, and you try uh, like cut them down to what you're going to show. So yeah, I knew that I kind of wanted to show the silhouette work, and then as far as I really went based on what I think my favorite pictures are. So it was like 8 or 10 favorites, and then I went with like the colors. So and that's how I also displayed them, so that like all the colors on the rows like weren't taking too much attention away from the others, and they balanced. But it took a long time to get like the layout that I thought was the nicest. So yeah, I mean, it was just based on personal significance to me, or whichever photos I liked the most.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah, that's nice because they're also on your website, of course. So if people are curious to see those photos, it's the Nocturna series, or like, well, there's more on your website, but there's less. So six of them were printed on exhibition. So that's yeah, very nice. And it's of course still on the abstract part, but I noticed like on none of your photos, I mean, you see one or two photos, no, three photos on your Instagram of people who are recognizable. So is it more of because you prefer the abstract, or is it like out of a privacy philosophy, or do you?
It's such a good question, and for me, like I really do prefer just bringing the human element in through like where somebody isn't really recognizable. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong because most of street photography is done where the person is recognizable, and there are times when I'll see a really interesting character and I'll take the photo, and that's awesome. But just for me, I really do enjoy that anonymous aspect. I just couldn't get that word.
I'm thinking how the words should be, but I can't remember
Yeah,
it now as
I
well.
just I just can't place the letters, but I prefer that anonymous aspect.
Yeah,
I've had some great conversations with subjects when I've taken their shot, and then often I go show them the photos, so it's been fantastic. But I do actually like the anonymous side of it, and it brings a bit of mystery to the work, I think, which I kind of enjoy
I think
seeing
so.
as
Yeah,
well.
it does work now that you mention it. And so you mentioned you go to show the photos. Is that something you do routinely, like when you can are able to catch them, or?
Yeah, so the thing is that if I take, obviously when I'm taking photos, I sometimes stand somewhere for 20, 30, 40 minutes for a shot once I've got a composition that I know I like because I'm waiting for like the layers or the colors or the right subject to enter the frame. So often I can be standing somewhere for a really long time. And if I do see somebody that, and I'm not doing like an anonymous shot, say I do see somebody and I take their picture and that person is noticed, I'm often quite happy to, and they then wonder why have I taken their shot. I'm quite happy to go up to them and say, hey, I thought you had really cool jacket, or the light was hitting your face in a really nice way, and show them the picture. Because sometimes a person wonders like, oh, what were they taking the photo? And you, or always I have a really either like a smile or something, and it's cool. So for me, that's just a different way that I usually approach it. Either it's like I just put a smile or thumbs up, or even if there's an interaction opportunity, that's also cool. So yeah, I've had some nice conversations that way.
That's cool. Yeah. So you're a very patient person then, if you can sit for that long waiting for it. So you, if I understand you correctly, you see your scene, like for example the colored background, you see the layers that could be in front, like a window that's maybe interesting or something, and then you stake out and wait until a person passes, or
Yeah, security really love me buildings and stuff like that. But it's funny, yeah, because if I'm ever like going on a walk with some photo friends, they know that I'll walk with them for 10 minutes and then I'm like, all right, guys, I'll see you in half an hour because I'm going to stand here.
yeah,
And yeah, so I'll see like a reflection, and then I'll stop and say like, okay, if that reflection is interesting, then maybe I could layer it up in this way, and then I'll walk a bit around, and then I'll think like, what could make this scene ideal? Like if I could really get what I wanted from this, what would be the best? So I'll kind of like then I'll look at it from all angles, and then I'll often wait a while, and often I don't get what I was wanting that day, so
yeah, yeah.
come back another day.
That of course that happens very often because like there's one I'm looking for it. It's with the glasses hanging. So is that then a person that was inside then, and you just wait for the right person to be on the right spot, or were you inside? Was it the other way around? No.
So which I don't know
Sorry, yeah,
which.
there's like one photo, it's bright orange. You see like a silhouette of a man, and you
Oh,
have like all the
yes,
glasses, like all
the wine glasses.
the
Sorry,
wine
yes.
glasses.
So that one, it's a bar in London, and I was actually, and you were talking about a long lens, so we can segue into that
Yeah,
after this if it's good for you. But
sure, yeah.
I was like at pavement. This was taken quite far off because he's a bartender inside the restaurant.
Okay.
So when I walked past this restaurant, I saw this amazing bar with this very bright orange backlighting, and I could see the bartenders walking in front of it were creating this amazing silhouettes. So I stopped there for a minute, and I was shooting with a Fuji at that time, and I had a 55 to 200 lens on.
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, if I didn't have that lens that day, I wouldn't have been able to get that shot. And then this guy, he like kind of stood up. He obviously had, I don't know, picked up something from the floor, and I was able to get just a few shots, frame it, get those few shots, and yeah, I mean, and then it was just gone. The moment was
Yeah.
gone, and that was it. I mean,
It's a great
so
photo. Yeah.
thank you.
And so yeah, you mentioned the long lens. Is that something you prefer then, or?
Yeah, so nowadays I have a Sony and I have an 85 1.8. That's just what I use most 90% of the time.
Okay.
And I think I really like a lens that's got like it gives me a little bit of I can get like a bit of layers with that, you know. But I also do have like a 70 to 180, which allows me to really like if I've got like neons and then reflections, and I can zoom like through that. It gives me that kind of nice depth, which is really nice. But I've also recently just bought a 28 to 70 little kit lens, which I'm enjoying shooting a bit wider as well. So that's a little bit new for me. So
Okay. And
yeah.
how and so first to the 85 and 55 to 100. Was it because that felt more natural to you, or was it just something that just you just happened to have it and started using it, or how did you get? Because most street photographers tend to have the well 24 to 70 or like 28 or 35 millimeter.
Yeah, exactly. You were saying on the 55 to 200, is that what you were asking about?
Yeah. So why
Yeah.
did you get to have that as your go-to lens? Let's say.
So yeah, when I first got the Fuji body, I bought a 50 f2 lens. Yeah, I mean, so that was fine, like for just walking around and then like getting candid shots and things like that. But then I found like I was getting quite interested in detailed shots, and that's when I thought like, okay, it could be quite useful to have and I was getting interested in like a little bit of layers and stuff, but and the details. So I was like, oh, it could be nice to have a bit of reach, you know. And that's when I bought the 55 to 200. But I never realized how useful it would really be as I moved more and more into the type of way that I like to take photos now, because it's a really great lens. And then when I changed to Sony, the 85 is just so useful. It's like just walk around lens, you know. So yeah, that's just the way I like to shoot now.
Okay, cool. So what did you what brought you to have to buy the 28-70 millimeter then?
Yeah, so I've got a upcoming trip to Greece, and I just thought that it would be really interesting to try and do a little bit of wider compositions, because I think it's just nice to try and see a little bit differently, you know, maybe use light and shadows, but maybe in like wider compositions, which could be cool. And I think it's quite versatile, still being able to get 70 on the one end, but 28 for like city and like stuff like that. And it's a really light lens, and I've actually been really keeping it on the camera much more than I expected. So
Oh, really?
yeah, it's
Okay,
pretty
that's
cool.
nice. I have a 24-70 as well. I only use it for events actually because mine is kind of heavy. So I
Yeah,
only
it's
use it for
2.8.
my corporate event work, and on the street because on the street it's just it's too heavy to me for me. But it's cool, and I get the idea of it's wide, but it can also be fairly narrow. So I do understand the idea behind purchasing that one. And so, do you go to Greece for like the idea of street photography, or is it just like a regular holiday trip, and you plan on doing some street photography?
No, so my sister and I managed to bring my parents over from South Africa we've moved them to the UK, and now we're going on a whole trip as the family to Greece. But I'm definitely going to get some photography. I've hired a car, so I'm going to drive around Kefalonia and see what photography is possible.
Okay, I did notice a South African accent. I wasn't sure, but I was like, it does sound a bit. Some words sounded a bit South African. Yeah,
Okay,
but I
well
wasn't.
done,
I wasn't sure.
well
Um,
done. Sometimes I get Australian or New
that was
Zealand,
my.
like
That was my first initial idea, but Australian and South African sounds fairly similar. But there's like some. I don't know what the differences are, but there's a slight different feeling to the accents. Yeah.
well done.
So yeah, it's because I really like South Africa, so that's why I heard it. Um, and so, what was it because of you moved to the UK then, and did that bring your photography, or did that spark your photography? Because I spoke, well, it's actually the next episode. Spoiler alert for the people listening, but I had a talk with Tom Pitts from Cheltenham, I think it was called. But he traveled around the world at first for his job, and he at first he did photography to, like um, document his travels. So was that for you the same reason, or?
So for me, I think when I moved to the UK, I reconnected with photography because, yeah, when I went to that meetup, I thought it would be a great way to shoot through the city and also to meet new people. And it was an opportunity for me to take photos again. But that's not necessarily where I started photography. I mean, like was back in New York probably in 2011, where I bought my first like SLR camera, and I was just walking around taking hundreds of photos a day. I didn't really know what I was even really taking pictures of, but I just really enjoyed taking photos. And yeah, it was just I even look back at them now and I'm like, yeah, I just remember taking this photo or that photo. And as I say, even before that, whenever I traveled anyway, I always had a little camera, and I always loved photography. But I think New York is really what sparked it off for me.
Okay, and would you consider those photos from New York street photography already then, or?
Yeah, it's interesting. There was quite a lot of buildings in there, but looking back now, there's definitely like some moments, like on the subway, and like some people moments and stuff. So I was thinking to like go and do a collection of like first street photography type of stuff from like 2012. It could be
Oh yeah,
interesting to
that's
see.
nice. Yeah, that's very nice because it's always like or I mean, to me, it's kind of a difficult question. It's like, when did I start to do street photography? Because that's at first I went to the streets because I'm a corporate event photographer, and for me it was just like, I have this new lens, I want to try it. I'll go out in the streets and I'll see. But I didn't consider it street photography. For me, it was just like a practice moment for my event photography. Or
Right.
like, when traveling, of course, you make these photos, but it's never street. So for me, it's there. I think it's a weird moment. There's like a weird, awkward moment where you're doing street photography and you're aiming for street photography, but maybe it's not yet. So I was wondering for you with New York, because you mentioned it, if that's
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know, as I say, what I was doing. I mean, like some days I feel like I still don't know what I'm doing anyway. So, I mean, we're always just learning. But and now, I mean, I wouldn't even know if I would consider my photos street photography or whatever. It's just photos, I mean, but
Mm.
yeah, because I think a lot of people would say it's abstract or it's but yeah, it's an interesting question for sure.
Yeah, I think there's because I asked the same question to Tom Pitts in the next episode about, where's the what's the border around street photography, because he does this documentary style photography as well. But there's street photography elements in there, and to me, like what you do, I mean, it's on the streets, it's Spontaneous moments. It's candid. It's not um, posed or directed. So to me, it's street photography. I do get where people might be coming from saying that it's abstract photography, but I don't see why abstract photography can't be street photography. Um,
Yeah, that's an interesting way to give it a definition, right?
yeah.
So,
So, but you consider yourself a street photographer then, or no?
I mean, I think I've changed my little thing on Instagram, which now
I just
says
see it. Yeah.
takes photos on the street. I mean, I think because otherwise it can just be too prescriptive. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Makes sense.
it's easier
Uh,
that way.
I like the way. Yeah, it's a good way of thinking. Yeah, maybe having the title of street photography is too restrictive, but yeah. Um, so we talked about the nighttime photography for a bit. Is that something you did because you just preferred it more? Of course, I can imagine with the lights, it's better then, or with like the neon lights in lots of your photos. Or was it more like from practicality because like you work all day and then of course when you leave work it's already dark and you only have this time of day?
Yeah, I mean, when I first started, or even up until a few years ago, I was enjoying shooting during the day much more actually.
Okay.
And then, yeah, I think probably 3 years or so ago, I really started enjoying shooting at night, and even sometimes in the rain. I would say I really do enjoy shooting in the rain. Firstly, because it's actually quite peaceful,
Mm,
even though obviously you're getting drenched, but it is peaceful because you can just hear the rain, and the city has a really different type of feeling to it.
yeah.
The surfaces are reflective, people are also very preoccupied in their own way. So it's an interesting way to be you're kind of just in your own invisible way when you're shooting in the rain. So I do enjoy it for that reason. And at night time, as you say, like all the surfaces are glowing. So I think I definitely prefer night now to day. But if it's daytime, the sun is amazing. But I've actually really stopped shooting in overcast, flat days because for me, there's really not much to work with there.
Yeah.
So
I've I've still tried yesterday actually, and it was a very depressing day because, as you said earlier, like I just felt like I didn't know what I was doing. So I had like two shots that I'm okay with. But yeah, it's definitely. I think every photographer has their preferred conditions. So I find it interesting because I think you're the first one who actually like mentioned the rain as like a great moment for you. And I do understand like the quietness. It's very when you say it, it's very recognizable. Um, Also does sound like a bit of a tip to starters who are nervous to photograph people. Do it during the rain because they're more preoccupied.
true that, yeah.
And then yeah, so yeah, it's nice. So do you worry about your camera in the water or are you like whatever?
Listen, I really should. I mean, there's one of my friends, Adrian Vago, great photographer. Does a lot of stuff in the rain, and he's got like he makes a bag, covers his camera. I mean, I should be more like him, but I don't know. I don't have an umbrella. I just have like a waterproof jacket, and I just walk with it. So, I'm chancing it quite a bit.
I think most cameras are weather sealed. If you start switching lenses, it might get dodgy. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
I actually had like last year I had to do an event in the rain. It was an all day. It was just raining all the time. It was a bit sad because they were promoting travel to South America, which was of course very sunny and warm. But yeah, so it was. And the next day my lenses were fogging up the entire time. Yeah, so it was really annoying. But so even though they're weather sealed, it's not exactly perfect. But yeah, normally it should be able to
to
handle a bit of
handle
a.
it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, if it's like a proper downpour, I don't like walk just with my
Yeah.
camera. Like then I'm just like, okay, be a bit more careful. But otherwise, it's been okay. I mean, the Sonys are pretty good. So
Yeah. And so you also have like a series of it's called Velocity. It's about more of the movement. Also at night, of course, with also the colors. Was that something like what did it inspire you to do those movements?
so I've really recently, especially, started enjoying getting like a series of movement in the city. I just feel like London, especially, it like kind of captures how London feels. Also, having moved from Johannesburg, which is very different to London. I mean, Johannesburg is as I said, it's amazing, but it's very busy, but it's got a different pulse to it. You you don't often you don't feel the business in the same way, and I think like walking through Piccadilly Circus or whatever, you really feel that type of like rush of the crowds. So I think being able to capture that in a certain way, I think sometimes that's kind of what inspired kind of like the velocity stuff. So that's kind of how I started doing those movements, and now I enjoy adding to them when I see a opportunity. I try add to that series.
Okay, cool. Yeah. And so because you have a couple of series, and I understand that, for example, the Velocity series isn't something you completed yet. Is that something you're constantly aware of those different series and know like when you see something that like that might be interesting for this, so you try maybe harder to get a good shot of it, or um,
Yeah, I think that because I don't necessarily think like I should add it because of but I do think that I find that I shoot in like a few different ways. Black and white is something that you won't find often, although there is a black and white category there. There's few, but otherwise, like there's certain styles that I will shoot in, which is like there's everyday, there's the like shadow silhouette work that I do, the movement. So I find that after a day, I often will come back with some photos that will fit into one or two of those categories. So maybe it's just I'm used to shooting and looking for those types of opportunities.
and yeah, because I often hear the advice like have a project or have several projects. So is that something you didn't were mindful of then, or yeah?
Yeah, and I think that I need to be better at focusing on maybe one of those because I don't know, maybe how will I know when the project is complete, when I'm ready to like do the zine or the because I've been quite bad with that. Like people have said maybe I should do a little zine or something, but that's not even I haven't even thought about that like seriously. So I need to start looking at what I have maybe and like thinking about something like that
Yeah.
maybe.
Yeah, it's always hard to know when a project stops, or like sometimes even when it started. Like it's as I said with the street photography, like you don't really sometimes know when you got into it.
Yeah.
Um, so I also noticed that a lot of your photos, if not most of them, are vertical shots. So is that something you do on purpose? Is that something that's just more natural for you to hold the camera like that, or is there an idea behind it?
So so it's funny because I think a lot of people, because you start seeing Instagram in a certain way, you can start shooting like that, even if it's not on purpose. But I do, I do find that I naturally frame up a lot of my compositions like that. Not because I'm shooting for Instagram, but when I do take photos of a certain scene, I often will shoot both portrait and landscape. It's just that um, enjoy, I land up liking the portrait composition more. So I will shoot in both orientations. But I usually do prefer the portrait one more. So maybe it's
Yeah,
just down to,
if it works, of course. And I mean, all your photos, it does work. But at a certain time, it was like I just noticed. I was like, oh, they're all vertical.
yeah,
Is there a reasoning behind it? So yeah, and I mean, I can imagine. It's also because, of course, there's a lot of silhouettes, so it's kind of like a portrait of people anyway.
exactly.
So the framing makes sense, yeah. And I also like you have Soul Lighter. I have his book around here somewhere. He also does a lot of vertical, or he did a lot of vertical shots, and he didn't have Instagram yet. So there's of course it's not always Instagram is not always to blame for different things. Um, I'm looking at your hands again. It's really interesting. It's interesting how many people hold their hands behind their back, apparently.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, I just find it interesting because it's like, when people are having a conversation, you don't know what's happening. It's that mystery of what's happening outside of the frame. It's like, were they talking? Were they waiting? Were they happy or sad? I just think it's quite an interesting series. So,
Yeah. Did you ever get in trouble because people thought you were photographing their butt or something?
actually not. I
Okay.
mean, and I don't, like, as I said, when I'm taking photos, I'm not like being like hiding that
No, of course, yeah.
I've got a big camera and whatever. So I'm really just, and yeah, that's actually interesting because they could think that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just wondering because like all of a sudden it's like it's definitely a possibility. But
Yeah, no,
it's a nice what yeah, it's nice with all the hands what people are holding, the tattoos. So
thank you.
it's a very nice series.
Appreciate that. Thanks.
And it's also with the monochromatically of the clothes. Is it something like did you have like photos of people whose hands or the object they were holding were super interesting, but their clothes just didn't do it? Like,
Yeah, so I've got quite a lot of over the years, as you can imagine, like of hand pictures. But sometimes, like, I'll see someone doing an interesting hand gesture, and I'll like frame it up. And as you're saying, like either the jacket's too busy, or like it just doesn't look right. Like once I've composed it, sometimes I won't take the picture, or I'll have it, but I just won't use it because either the colors are off or like it just doesn't look nice. Even though from far away it may have looked like an interesting moment, it just doesn't. It's not clean because those are clean. I like that it's a clean.
yeah, exactly. That's part of the how strong of or like the strength of the series. Like it's a very clean backdrop, and then you have the hands more or less always on the same position in the frame. But they're all doing these different things, and they all tell a different story. So that's very nice. And
Thank
you
you.
see the difference in people. Like you see older hands, you see different colors, you see the tattoos, you see the painted nails. And I think like it's probably her boyfriend holding her hand behind her back or something. Yeah. Anyway, like
Yeah.
you see all these different. That's nice. Yeah, it's a very very good observation.
Thank you.
So you talked about Japan earlier, about you wanting to go there. I really like. I see. Usually, I find like street photographers. I want to go to Japan. Like, I think for them it's like an easy way to be interesting. But for you, I see with especially with the nocturna shots, like I can instantly imagine that it would work so well for you in Japan with that series.
Thank you.
So I do understand. Yeah, is that what speaks to you about Japan, or
Yeah, I mean, look, besides that, I have so many people who say to me, man, you need to go take photos in Japan because you will love it there. Like, for how you shoot, they think it will be really cool. Like,
Hmm.
I'll go crazy there. But my prime reason is I just think, like, with the lights and the different way that the city is put together. I think the windows, the reflections, I think it would be like paradise for me.
Yeah,
I really think it would just be crazy.
I can imagine that. Yeah,
besides that, I hear that it's the people are so nice, the culture's so interesting. I think from a photography perspective, it would be amazing, really.
Yeah. So do you have more wish list countries or cities?
Yeah, so I'd love to go back to New York now with like maybe the way I'm shooting now. I'd really like to go back to New York. Japan is another one, as I said. I'd love to do Lisbon.
Okay.
I mean, Lisbon, I was there a few years ago, but I wasn't really shooting with purpose, I would say. And again, such a great place, great people and food. But I just want to go back with a camera this time. And yeah, I'm doing Greece, so that would be nice. See what's there. But yeah, Japan is a focus for me, so need to
Yeah.
make it happen.
I think, yeah, I'm sure you could be busy there for like months on end if you'd
Yeah.
like. I haven't been, but I from everything I saw and know, it's probably paradise for you, as you said. Yeah, because you have like the strong lights and probably great silhouettes as well. So I'm thinking, yeah, maybe we should wrap this up because
Awesome.
my problem with well problem it's not a problem, but after I record this podcast, I always feel like going out and shooting myself. Problem is sometimes, like for example with Tom last week, it was I think 10 o'clock I think when we ended, so it was dark outside, and I don't live right in the city center, so for me it was like bedtime anyway because I had to wake up early as well. But now I have like the time, so now for me it's like okay, maybe I can. And I see that there's good light outside
Oh
now.
man,
So after a lot of rain, so um, let's wrap this up. I hope you get to go to Japan soon. Maybe
thank you.
it's fun to have like a follow-up episode after you did, like to hear about your experiences there.
Yeah, man, that
So
would be
let me know
great.
if you do.
Thank you.
And then thank you, Darren, for your time and insights. Of course, as usual, as if anyone wants to follow Darren, I will add his website and his Instagram to the show notes. I think there's no other social media mentioned on your website. So the website and the Instagram. So make
Thank
sure
you.
to follow his fantastic work, of course, because it's very, very nice. And also, of course, make sure to follow the podcast on your favorite platform or follow me on social media for updates about new episodes. And again, all those links will be in the show notes as well. So thank you, Darren, and thank you, listener, for listening, and see you in the next episodes.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you having me on. It was great. Thank you.